trash, is what I thought this episode would be, but it was alright. Anyway, what's going on guys, I'm Entity Maze, here with my review on the latest Pokemon Sun and Moon anime episode, episode 57, Rotom Can't Stop the Form Change. But before I jump right into this episode review though, I'm going to give episode 56 a mini summary review right now, as of course I didn't release a full review. Why that is because I believed what I wrote wasn't good enough. Sorry. Regardless, let's just talk about this episode quickly now. So, the episode was alright at best. The first 3 minutes was the best, as we finally got to see Ash train in some kind of way once again. We seriously need more scenes like them. It helps us show that Ash is actually training and not doing jack shit. Ooh. Well, I guess I'm using the Wobbuffet sensor there. Anyway, I also liked seeing how everyone's daily routine in that household was. And then for the rest of the episode though, the comedy was not funny. This dude will never be funny. I feel like the Jigglypuff gag was overused. Learning about Komola and how it met Samsung Goku was quite nice and sweet. And finally, just overall half of the episode was so boring for me. Mostly when Jigglypuff got introduced. So, this episode gets a rating of 4.5 out of 10. With episode 56 said though, I shall now give my full review on episode 57, which I'm actually proud of. So episode 57 begins off with Ash, Kukui and Brunette deciding to go out shopping, which already I like seeing how Ash is spending time with Kukui and Brunette. They really feel like family. Regardless of that though, Rotom decides to stay at the household to take care of the Pokemon as they were all sleeping, and the family didn't want to disturb them. And yes, that's what I'm gonna call Kukui, Ash and Brunette. Anyway, once Rotom takes in an order of a washing machine, it wakes Litten and Lycanroc up, and they start to play fight. But bruh, I love seeing the relationship between these two. Although quick point, now that it's confirmed Litten will be evolving into Torracat soon, I did start to think after I released my video on that, thanks to you guys commenting it, that Litten really hasn't battled that much in this anime, apart from Lucamine's Pokemon in Ultra Space, Lycanroc in training, and finally for development purposes, we've only really seen it master Firefang, which was after its capture. So, it's actually kind of disappointing that we've hardly seen this Pokemon get screen time. It now feels like to me that it shouldn't be a Torracat yet, but this also reminds me of May's Chorchick in a way. We hardly saw that in battles in my opinion, and once it became Combusken, boom, May used it all the time. So hopefully that can happen at least with Litten. Make it have more battles now that it has been evolved. Anyway, enough about that, I got so sidetracked. Let's focus back on this episode. So thanks to Lycanroc annoying Litten, Litten uses Ember but Lycanroc dodges it, and it hits Rowlet in the face, which Rowlet then lands on Pikachu, and boom, everybody gets shocked. Ah, that's classic Sun and Moon comedy. Remember episode 6's beginning? Yeah, that reminds me of that. But the comedy does actually get a lot better in this episode, because once that shock happened, it turns out that there was a Rotom inside the washing machine, and it switches places with Ash's Rotom, thanks to the shock. Time then passes, and the family get home, and they see that they got that washing machine, yet they never ordered one. So, it gets returned. However, little did they know that Rotom was inside this washing machine. Washing machine. I have no idea why I did that. However, little did they know Rotom was inside, and this is where Rotom's bizarre adventure begins. It ends up going to the Pokemon Center as Wash Rotom, and wrecks the entire center with water by mistake, as Nurse Joy touched its eyes thinking it's a normal washing machine. But after this, Rotom then goes through the wall socket and ends up at Lana's house, turning into Rotom Fan, and getting pulled by Lana's sisters, to then end up in Kukui's TV once going through the socket again, but realised he had to take a different current to get into the actual house. Yeah, this is definitely a bizarre adventure. Meanwhile though, Ash rebooted the Rotom inside the Pokedex and had to deal with it acting strangely. You noticed that it was acting really strange when it deleted a picture of Marshadow it took on Ash's command, as of course that Pokemon is a Pokemon they've never seen before. Rotom even ends up in the same street of Ash and the other Rotom and sees Marshadow and gets so sad that it couldn't take a picture of it. And I'm just gonna say right here and right now, I told you Marshadow would be used for a gag. I made a post about this on Twitter back then when we saw the first preview. It's also shameless clickbait advertising too if you think about it. Anyway, I ain't disappointed about Marshadow because I expected it. Plus, it can't really serve a major role in the anime too. It had a movie anyway. Regardless of that though, going back to the episode, Ash decides to go to the Pokemon Center so Nurse Joy can check up on his wild Rotom, while Ash's Rotom then makes his way to Lilie's house and becomes a lawnmower, then accidentally scaring Lilie as he was chasing her, and of course he can't speak English when he's not in the Pokedex form, so Lilie couldn't hear him. But I'm just gonna say this as well, this bit was the funniest part of the episode for me. I don't know, there's just some kind of charm to it. Regardless, Ash's Rotom then makes his way to Mallow and accidentally scares her too, while in the Heat Rotom form, and Chiori had to end up saving Mallow. I ship it. And finally, as there was one classmate left to see, Sophocles, he ends up in his house, accidentally freezing him as he turned into Frost Rotom. You know, just by thinking about it right now too, I actually like how all the forms Rotom turned into are ones that relate to the classmates. AKA for example, Mallow and Heat Rotom. She likes to cook and Heat Rotom is basically an oven. Very nice. Anyway, at the Pokemon Center, Ash tells Nurse Joy how Rotom has been acting weird. And just then, Ash's Rotom ends up in the Pokemon Center too, turning into Rosh Rotom and accidentally attacks Ash when trying to get his attention, then getting into a battle. Gotta love what Rotom said here too. These are my tears, not Bubble Beam. I don't know, I just find that clever. Regardless, once Rotom lets out so much water to fill the entire room, Pikachu unleashes a Thunderbolt and the Rotom switch back into their original places, with Ash's Rotom then explaining what happened. The episode then ends off with Ash slipping on soap, ooh, kinky, and Ash's Pikachu unleashing another Thunderbolt thanks to being crushed by Ash, making Rotom fly out the Pokedex once again and turn into the Pokemon Center? That brings up more questions than a laugh for me. It's a building, not an electronic device. Regardless, with that story said now, let's move on to my overall thoughts of this episode. Firstly, for the story, when the previews and summary came out, I expected the episode to be slapstick comedy that I wouldn't find funny at all and quite honestly be such an annoying episode. But nope. This episode was actually entertaining, the comedy being, well, actually quite funny in some areas, and the story did have some unique areas. And why I'm saying that is because I also expected this episode to be fully like the Rotom episode we got in the Diamond and Pearl series. I mean, it keeps the same Rotom changing into different forms idea and scaring people asset, but everything else pretty much in this story was unique, aka Rotom trying to get back home to get back into its Pokedex form, and the subplot of Ash with his wild Rotom. I gotta say as well, it was interesting seeing a wild Rotom talk. That's a really cool idea too, as I wondered what would happen if another Rotom took the Pokedex form. Would it know how to speak English properly? And the answer is no, not really. Regardless, overall, I'm glad that this episode was enjoyable with the comedy and not being a rehashed plot fully, as I don't like the anime doing that as it seems lazy. Although I will also say that this episode's story was very predictable when watching, so it took the surprise factors away, but I'm willing to let that slide a bit as it is a filler episode anyway. And there was actually a somewhat plot hole. Pikachu has shocked Rotom so many times before in the past and he has never come out the Pokedex, yet in this episode he did just to make a filler story. Just watch out in future episodes. Next time Pikachu shocks Rotom, he won't fly out the Pokedex. But I'll just let this slide a tiny bit, as I did still enjoy the story that they made for this episode. Regardless, let's talk more about the comedy I liked so you guys get a better idea of what I meant earlier. There was the Lilie section I liked, just watch Rotom's overall character when inside the Pokedex, Mallow, Lana's sisters, Rotom inside the TV thinking he can interact with the characters, very clever, and finally, this scene. Oh, that's such a perfect clip to use for videos now. Regardless, I'm surprised I liked this much comedy. I'm also glad that they didn't use that much funny faces. I only remember seeing 1 or 2 funny faces, which is good that they are not just using faces for comedy all the time. It felt classic almost, I guess you could say. I mean, Lilie's section is very Diamond and Pearl-like anyway. Regardless, like I said, I don't mind it that much anyway, as the story still had unique elements. Anyway, with all the comedic aspects said, let's talk more about Rotom's actual character in this episode, as it is his own. I'm not gonna lie, he wasn't annoying like he usually is, which is also surprising for me to say. It was just fun watching him, and if I had to pick between the 2 episodes he's had so far, of which one's better, I'd go for this episode, because I found more enjoyment, and I guess less cringe from Rotom's character. Finally, for this story section though, I have to mention this. Why did the anime creators decide to show us 2 useless Jigglypuff scenes? It served absolutely no purpose to the episode. Was it to ensure they hit 22 minutes? If so, then god, that's bad. It was more useless than Team Rocket in episode 52, or any time Team Rocket are on screen serving no importance to the plot whatsoever. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's now move on to the animation and music aspects of this episode. Firstly, for the animation, there weren't really any highlights I can say. However, the animation was fluid throughout the whole thing, and I guess some of the camera angles were nice, especially in the soap scene. As for the music aspects though, again no highlights I can pick out, but the tunes did fit very nicely. I just wish we could hear more variety in Melee Island episodes though, as I noticed they are reusing tunes for them episodes specifically, making the tunes get boring now. But with everything I've said in this video though, I've decided to give this episode a rating of 6 out of 10. It was a fun episode, and for sure improved compared to episode 56. Regardless, let me know in the comments down below what you actually thought of this episode. I'd love to hear, as of course we all have different opinions. You might have hated this episode. Anyway, that concludes it for this video now. So if you did enjoy, then be sure to leave a like and a subscribe for future Pokemon content. It helps out a ton. For now, this is Entity Maze, signing out.